The world feels a little chaotic lately, so I'm making something that reminds us how it all fits together. I'm making a globe. I want it to rotate on its axis with raised continents. Let's see if I can bring this world together in clay. I start by making the globe. I'm using 1.8 kilos of clay. So I center the clay. I push down into the clay to open out. And after creating a bowl shape on the inside, I pull up the walls. I bring the walls up a little higher than I want the height of the final sphere. And then I bring the walls in by collaring. I bring the walls together. And squeeze to close the form. And I shape to form the globe. I use a flexible rib to shape. And I trim a little around the base. I've left a bit of extra clay in the base. I make the mount with 1.5 kilos of clay. I start by centering the clay, and then I push down into the clay and open out. I can push all the way down to the base. I want to keep the walls pretty thick. The mount has to be super stable to support the meridian and the globe. So I've pulled the walls up inwards, and now I'm closing the form. And then I shape. I'm trying to make kind of a traditional looking mount. I shape by forming 2 steps, and then I set aside to dry to leather hard. It's the support that holds the axis of the globe, and it in turn is joined to the mount. So I bring the clay out really wide. I bring it out about 8 centimeters bigger than the diameter of the globe, and I form a ring about 2.5 centimeters thick. I straighten up the edges. I make 2 holes in the meridian, one at 0 and one at 180 degrees. This is for the axis. And then I widen the holes so a skewer will fit through. And I cut through the meridian. The meridian could also be a full circle, but I'm making mine a little more than half the circle. And I lift the cut section away. I wire through. I set aside to firm up. And it's back to the globe. I wire through. And I'm going to trim on a little chuck I've made for the purpose. The chuck's still a little damp, so I use a paper towel. Then I place the globe on top of the chuck and I trim. To stay up to date with our fun and/or functional projects, remember to subscribe. I smooth the globe with a rib. And now I'm ready to make the holes for the axis. I start by using a skewer. I take care to make the holes opposite each other. Now, to trim the meridian, I just have to make those holes a little larger. And that's it. I can smooth with a sponge. And I trim the mount. I'm just going to add a channel. I'm thinking I'll use glue to attach the meridian to the base. But I still want this channel to support the meridian. So this way I'll be able to adjust the angle of the axis before I glue it in place. And then I set aside to dry. It'll take a little extra time because it's quite chunky. And we're back to the globe. And I'm going to cut out continents from a thin piece of clay. Of course, I could have just painted them on, but I like the idea of a bit of relief. And I might texture the continents a little with some slip. I've always been really keen on globes, so this is exactly my kind of fun. As I put the world together, I can think about the geography of the world. And then I paint with underglaze. Of course, this is the world as I make it. It's not really accurate. Let's call it representational. I can see a whole lot of possibilities for decorating the world. And then I allow all the pieces to dry. And I Bisque Fire. So I'm just going to underglaze the meridian. It'll come out a matte black. And this means I can fire it on its side. I think there's less chance of warping this way. And now to glazing the mount. I'm just using a glossy black glaze. I'm using a brush-on glaze that requires 2 coats. And now I can glaze the actual globe. Once again, I'm using a brush-on glaze. And then I fire all the pieces. I'm firing the parts to earthenware. So I'm using a 2-part epoxy glue to join the meridian to the mount. So I've already marked out where the axis needs to sit, and I place the meridian on the mount. I just check that it's at the right angle and hold it in place to dry. With this 2-part epoxy, it's 24 hours for maximum strength. And then I'm ready to assemble the globe. So I need a skewer and 2 beads to hold the globe in place. I still have no real idea that this is going to work. This is kind of fiddly. And I need an extra pair of hands. Once the beads and the skewer is in place, I can just push the skewer through. The axis is like a big pin holding it all together, and it rotates. I can spin the earth, and like a child with a globe, I really can't stop. This was a fun project on so many levels. Feel free to comment and add suggestions below. And if you want more unusual and original ideas, why not watch my container with a flip lid video? Thank you for watching, and happy potting!